Y'all, I'm super excited. Oh, okay. If you don't know Julia, she is amazing. I met her in Arizona for like an Emerald leadership thing. And honestly, I just like fell in love with how amazing she is. She's a diamond brand ambassador. She's been here for a while and they live in 30A with her four, five children. Five babies. They've got five. And she's just like what you want on a team culture. She's still creating business builders. She's still posting so boldly about her business. And I'm like, it's just awesome. So I'm glad she's here to talk to us tonight about duplication. Tell us a little bit about your story, and I'll let you go from here, Julia.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Julia Cartee. I am in my closet because this is where I hide from those five children. I love that you call them babies because actually I have an 18-year-old who is graduating in about a month from tomorrow. And then I have one that turns 17 on Sunday and 15, 13. And then I do have a baby. I have a 6-year-old, so he's my baby. And so it is very busy around here. And I've been with Plexus for 10 and a half years. And as Haley said, I am a diamond ambassador. And I'll share a little bit of my story. I like to share my story because I kind of intertwine some tips from it, some things I learned. I always my best friend power partner is also a diamond, Lindsay Russell, and we always think, okay, what do we wish we knew then 10 years ago that we didn't. And so I can kind of give you tips and just a few things that I'm like, I truly still feel like the bones of how to work this business are very consistent. Even though the times have changed and maybe location, seasons, I've done this in every season. I've done this when I started, I was homeschooling 4 kids. I've done it with a brand new baby because he's 6. I've been doing this for 10 and a half years. I've done it through the adoption process. I've done it. Now I can say I have survived a senior year. Does any of y'all, do you have seniors or you have recently survived a senior year? See, I see you, Amy, raising your hand. I'll be honest, teenagers are harder. Sorry, y'all. I'm just going to say it. They take more of your emotional health out of you and they take that time. So if you're thinking, oh my goodness, if these kids will grow up, I'll be able to focus on my business, I want to say there's never that perfect time. So hopefully I can give you some tips on how to do it no matter what season you are in. So 11 and a half years ago, I'll make this really quick. I'm going to give you the short version. I was living in Dallas, Texas at the time. We had moved there for my husband to finish seminary. We had been in the ministry for about 9 years. I grew up in the ministry family. We made a decision early on into our marriage that we would never sell anything. We had definitely felt that sitting on the couch, feeling pressure to buy, cookware, children's clothes, candles, all those things that we really didn't have the money to buy, but we kind of felt guilted into it. Has anyone ever been there? And I didn't want to be that person. So when she's also a diamond. I forget when we have separate teams, we don't all know the same people. But Andrea Mitchell, she's a diamond. She was in my Sunday school class and she started posting about Plexus. And before I knew it, every woman in the DFW was posting about Plexus. And I'm not exaggerating. I had never heard of it. I actually am not a mean person, but I use social media to keep up with my friends and family from back home. And I started unfollowing anyone that sold anything. And there were a few companies that were really big about 10 years ago. And so this is my first tip tonight. How many of you have had friends or family unfollow you, or you think they've unfollowed you? Well, guess what? They might be the next diamond on your team. You have to love them where they're at. And that is what Andrea Mitchell, Ellen Forge, Angie Zumwalt, all three are diamonds. I went to Bible study with them. I said, if you talk to me about Plexus one more time, I'm not coming back to Bible study to that point. But guess what? Those seasons change. Just like my season of motherhood has changed the past 10 years, seasons of life change. I read somewhere once that people's seasons change every 3 to 7 years. And so we found ourselves 4 little kids, and my husband lost his job. And I have a teaching degree. I didn't want to go back to teaching. And so I went to breakfast. with Andrea because guess what? We were still friends. We were still having play dates. In fact, my two youngest had severe eczema at the time and nothing was helping. She gave me a bottle of Probio 5. She literally stuck it in my diaper bag and I rolled my eyes. And I was like, you're trying to stuff this stuff down my throat. Again, if you have a friend that is rolling her eyes at you, just love her. Keep having play dates, keep having coffee dates. Not everyone's going to be on your team, but they might be your next diamond. So, I went to coffee with her. We actually skipped VBS. I went to coffee. I said, Andrea, how much money are you making with this Plexus thing? Because I was doing crafts. I was sewing. I was doing everything to make ends meet so I wouldn't have to go back to teaching. And she told me she was Sapphire at the time and I about fell off my chair. It was like, I think it was like 12 grand a month, which is a lot of money. And I was like, okay, if you can make 12,000 a month, I can make 1,000. That's how I looked at it. So I went home. I had used the probiotic. I had given it, if you're one, everybody always asks this. They were 2 and 4 at the time. So I opened it up and put it in their yogurt. Um, I did it like twice and told her it didn't work. How many of you have had customers tell you the products don't work? I have. Good man, y'all don't have enough customers then because everybody should have some customer that says, oh, these products don't work. Well, guess what? That same person might be your next business builder. The timing just hasn't happened yet. Okay. So love them where they're at. So I pulled out that ProBio 5. I started consistently giving it to my children. And sure enough, their skin started clearing up. And so I called my husband. I said, you know, these products work. Women who we trust and who have integrity are doing this business. I'm going to give it a try. And he very begrudgingly said yes. And that is when I am one of the rare people that jumped in. I joined Plexus for the business. I knew nothing about gut health. I had never even heard of a probiotic until she stuck that thing in my diaper bag. I was not on any supplements. Okay. So I jumped in with 2 feet. How many of you jumped in with the business, like for the business? Okay, we're like the oddballs of Plexus. I don't know why, because I think we're the smartest, okay? Um, but I jumped in with 2 feet. And when I say that, I didn't know what I was doing at all. No experience in network marketing. I picked up the phone and I called a lot of good friends from college, sorority sisters, from past, just friends from different churches that we've been at. And I said, do not make fun of me. I'm about to start posting about Plexus. We really need the extra income. Jared's lost his job. Um, and that was it. It was almost like an apology call. But I said, you should come do this with me. And if we're not making $1,000 in a year, we can all quit. Y'all, I'm not saying that's the greatest sales pitch right there, but it worked for me. And the reason I think it worked for me is I was real. I was authentic. I mean, I just straight up, I didn't know better not to say, hey, if we're not all making $1,000 in a year, we're all going to quit. What I now looking back realized that did is it casted a vision. It gave people a goal. We all have the same goal. We all had this vision that, hey, Chandler and Haley, they're making this much of money, but you know what? Maybe we won't make that much money, but we can make this much. And like, I just kind of breathed belief in these friends that I didn't even know what I was believing in. And so that's how I got started. And I will say my journey at the beginning moved pretty fast. And I think it's because I was able to get people excited. I do like to share the story. My first paycheck, we had just moved, we decided to move back to Alabama, and I was in Publix's parking lot, which is a grocery store here. And we had used up all our savings, everything, and we had $36 in our checking account. Now, remember, I had a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old at this time. Okay. Used up all our savings, and I got the notification of what my Plexus paid, and it was to the penny. Not only enough to cover my first month of triplex, my kids were taking the probiotic. I was taking the Slim because I figured I needed to start the products. But it was enough to cover our first month rent in Mobile, like to the penny. And it was right then that I knew that the Lord was going to do something with this business. And I just kept sharing. I kept calling. So my tips here is number one, we like to hide behind, I heard it today, It's a lot easier to hide behind the screen and post consistently, and I believe in that and reach out to people. But I have a rule on my team. If you have someone's cell phone number in their in your phone, then they deserve to hear about Plexus directly from you. If you're brand new here, I feel like you are in the sweetest spot because before they can see it on your social media, they should get a text from you and say, "Hey, I'm so excited. I'm about to start these products." I know what people, I was talking to, on a coaching call right before this. She goes, "But I haven't even used the products yet." That's okay. I hadn't either. I said, "I don't know if these products are even going to work, but let's do this together." Like, be real. Don't lie. I don't want you to go lie and say, "Hey, I've lost 25 pounds and I have so much energy," and you just started the products. You're going to lose your audience there. But if you're real and you call up your friends and say, "Hey, come do this with me. Come do this with me." And maybe you're here and you're like, "Julia, I've been here for like 8 years." You still can use that. Say, "Hey, I have friends. I'm going to I text and say, 'Hey, I know you've been watching me, but I would really love for you to come do this with me.'" Like it would be so much more fun. I just think there's something special about that direct phone call, text, if you can get face to face with them. So that is, and then I worked myself to diamond and all that, and that's why I'm going to kind of share just kind of how I did that. So, any questions? Oh, I do a Monday night call too, and I like it to be very like you can unmute yourself right now and ask a question of any of that. I mean, it was a lot, but that's my story.
Julia, what when you oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. When you called somebody like your sorority sisters, because I have some girls that have sorority sisters and they're like, they would never do this. They would think it's weird. Like you just called them and you were like, "Hey, I'm doing this. What do you think about doing it with me?" Did you do that? Like, did you talk about the business or the products or
Kind of both. I mean, I was like, "You should come do this with me," and I kind of meant the business, but I'm like, Mary Kay, the Mary Kay, like she had a thing. Like, if you can't sell them a tube of lipstick, I mean, if you can't sell them a business, sell them a tube of lipstick. Our
Mhm.
tube of lipstick is Probio 5. Okay. So, like, yeah. And let me tell you, obviously, I have hundreds of sorority sisters. They didn't all jump on with me. Some of them were like, "No, Julia, you're crazy." Some of them might still think I'm crazy. I don't know. But if you did, and they I still have those doors. I just feel like you're opening the door for that conversation, but you're
Mhm.
not making it weird. So they see your stuff and they're just kind of scrolling. But yeah, I mean, I really my sales pitch was, "Hey, come do this with me. If we're not making $1,000, we'll quit." I know that's not the greatest, but still, um,
But it's so honest. And I mean, that's easier to say than like, "Hey, I've been like this long drawn out thing that I feel like some of us get so stuck on."
right,
When I'm like a super straightforward too, and I'm like, just do it with me. I know you're watching. But like that, I mean, it makes sense.
right,
Clearly it worked.
Can I say something?
yes,
Yes.
Um, so I feel like a lot of people like scroll and kind of are like too scared to approach you, either about the income, like out of insecurity or I don't know, something like that. But I feel like it'd be more like authentic, like you're saying, to approach them and be honest and be real rather than, them scrolling and then they thinking, oh, I need this, but I'm scared to, say something about it.
right. I agree. And I think fear plays a big part. I think just even some friends that I've done that with and they still won't do it with me. I have like two of mine. I'm like, finally, I say, "Okay, can you tell me, Jerry, like, why won't you come do this with me?" And the answer is always the same. "I don't believe I could be as successful as you." Now, you might not say you're not a diamond, but a lot of people just don't believe they can do this and make the $300 a month or make the $500 a month. So I think when you go to them, again, there's that first, you're breathing belief in them that you believe that they can do this too. Um, so yeah,
Okay, I have a question.
yes,
Do you
yes,
think
Chandler.
it's easier to recruit new business builders when you're younger in the business or when you're more seasoned as a jewel?
That's $1 million question because a lot of my newer people are like, "How do I share the business when I don't really have business success?" Okay, I get that. I mean, I have business success. But like I said, I feel like the sweetest spot is at the beginning, asking people to come do this with you. Because when you're where I am, it's almost like, "Hey, come be on my team." And it's almost not for me, but you know, like we're Jules, so we're actively recruiting because we see the big, we know we want to be deep and wide. Um, so if I had to lean to one, I think the beginning's easier. Um, but then again, I feel like business people come to me probably now, people come to me and say, okay, you're successful in the business. I want to do the business. Does that make sense? I probably attract people coming to me more now, where back then it was easier to go and grab them.
So what you're saying is you have to be more courageous when you're young, and then you
Yes,
have more influence as you're older in this business.
yes.
Yeah.
And actually, y'all can all go look at my social media today. I made a very bold, uncomfortable post today because y'all kind of pushed me to. I was like, well, if I'm going to talk about this, but I've had it saved and I tweaked it to make it my own. I'm a believer in that. Sorry if y'all aren't. I like, if you see something great, just make it your own and make sure they're not in your network. But it's probably one of the boldest business things I've done in a really long time since I've moved down here. 38. If you're familiar with 38, it's a very affluent community. So telling somebody I'm making $1,000 a month might not speak to many people around here. Um, but we'll see. I guess the point of that is it's all to me, it's scary no matter where you are in the business sometimes to put yourself out there. Okay, I think this is hilarious. I told a couple of people this. I was like, Haley asked me to talk about duplication, then she said posting, and then she said, I was like, oh goodness, am I supposed to be here 6 hours? So don't worry, I'm not going to keep you forever, but I do feel like they kind of all intertwine, and I'm not your social media guru at all. I feel like y'all's.
Okay, real quick though, your social media is so different and so good. And so that's my brain. My whole team right now is like, yeah, that's what she does. She talks about 15 different things. But I feel like I said social media for you because it's so different than others. And it's like, I don't know. It's just you, I guess. I don't know. It's really
Okay.
good though.
Well, I appreciate it. And a lot of it is I mean, I have a lot of kids. So I think when you have lots of kids, it's easier to post. But I think I'm going that backwards. I have notes, but I'm going to go backwards. I do want to say something about my social media. Because I just feel like there's all of you on here. It doesn't come natural for everyone. And for some seasons, it came very natural for us. Honestly, our family went through some pretty hard times. My husband's actually dropping a podcast tomorrow. If you want to hear all about it, you can go listen to it. It's the first time he's opening up on social media, but just he fought addiction. I'll just say that, and it was really hard to show up on social media when you can't. It was like, how can I show up authentically when I feel like my world is falling apart? Does it make sense? And you don't have to raise your hand. Maybe you've been there. If you've not been there, unfortunately, you might get there if you stick with us for 10 years, okay? And that's a whole training in itself. But most recently, and thankfully the Lord has redeemed and our family is doing much better now. I came across this quote and it has changed my just whole perspective of posting. And this has been pretty recent. I don't know if any of you know who Ruth Chow Simmons is, because I was just struggling getting back because there's so many social media gurus out there that talk about algorithms, all that stuff. That's not me. I'm just like, I just want to be authentic. I want to share the things I love. I think that's how you connect with people the best. And I just want to read this for you, and I can send them the graphic. But she said, I was scrolling through Instagram and saw this. When we think of social media less as a place to produce and more of a place where we overflow, the time spent on platforms stops becoming the destination and instead the vehicle. And it just kind of hit me. I'm like, we want to live in overflow. Your social media should be a natural overflow of who you are and how you spend your days. I think when I've gotten into this, like, oh, I need to be this niche and I need to be this and I need this algorithm. I don't know about you, but that shuts me down and then it becomes a job. And I didn't join to have a job. I joined to have freedom, time freedom, financial freedom. And so I just want to encourage, this is going to be my social media tip, is post, show up out of overflow. And with that, it's kind of convicting because what comes in comes out. And so it really challenged me of like, what am I putting in? Like if and I am a Christian, so again, I don't know, different things are different ways. but like what I'm putting in my mind, what TV am I watching? If I'm always talking to someone and they're complaining and dragging, I'm going to overflow. Of course, I'm not going to feel like overflowing for social media. Um, Even in the plexus world, like if I'm not taking my supplements, if I'm really not feeling that energy we say it tells us we get because I'm, taking the stuff every other day, it's going to be really hard to authentically post out of overflow. Um, and I think I just want to challenge you to really look at yourself and think, okay, what's going in so I can show up and be a light on social media? Because everyone's going to be attracted to light. Everyone, even if they never buy plexus from you, they will walk away. And let's just be honest, social media can be a dark place these days. They'll walk away and they'll just say, "Oh, Cassie, like I just really like following her. Like it's just I like it." And then they won't be bothered by that plexus post that, sometimes people might roll their eyes at. So that's really my biggest social media tip in this season is I'm really trying to post out overflow my life. And it's become just a lot more natural. So with that, I think that actually goes with, and I know Chandler and Haley knows my love. I feel like it's the purpose God put me on earth is to create culture. And I kind of made this aha moment of team culture has always been our thing, but it's also because it's been my thing at my home. I try to create a culture that my kids want to come back to. My child's moving away. But I hope she's going to come back. Like she wants to come back. In church, in Bible study, I like to create a place where women belong. So I know not everyone has that gift, but I do think it's the cliche that I have held on to so tight for 10 years is culture eats strategy for breakfast. I'm going to give you some strategy of duplication, but I'll tell you, this is a relationship business. And what you create, how you're spending time with your teammates. Are you having conversations with them? I don't know if y'all do, I do know about the team retreats, team retreats. All those things can create culture. You being on here, to me, Monday nights are my favorite single night. I'm missing it. I'm going to jump on after I get off. I have L Rob leading. But because this is where I literally will sit on here sometimes till midnight, just talking to my team. I'm not saying you have to do that, but the point is people want to feel seen and loved. So when you sell that triplex, yes, you need to send them directions on how to use it, talk about detox, but more importantly, we need to make sure they feel seen and heard. If they want to do the business, same thing. We have steps for that, and I'll share that. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, how did I inspire them today? Who did I make connections with today? Really quick, I had a graphic, but I'm not going to share it. I can send it to y'all. I don't know if you ever heard this. Have y'all ever heard of, say, be a Barnabas? Like in Plexus world, we had to be a Barnabas. Barnabas was he's known to be an encourager in the Bible. So ways to be a Barnabas in Plexus, I just jotted down a few, is, shout out their first post. I don't know if y'all have chats. Chats are where we create a lot of culture. Shout out their first post. Help them, shout out if they're not working the business, shout out that they've been consistent. If they message you and say, "Hey, I have so much more energy now," say, "Can I share this with the group?" I'd love to shout that out. Let them be seen. Go to coffee with them. We are big on three-way calls. So if I signed up Haley, and Chandler was my upline, Chandler, Haley, and I would get on a call. I don't love training that other people's teams because I know that the dynamics are different, but that has just worked really well for us. And I feel like with my legs that duplicate that down because it brings them into the community. It helps them see a face. It helps us get to know people. This is very simple. 10 years ago, I don't know if y'all know Rosalind Payne. She's a diamond. I'm her level 4. We didn't know each other before Plexus. And I will never forget, I guess I was 33 because I'm 43 now. I was 33, so we're not talking like a young girl. She commented on one of my little girls, Lottie, and said, "Oh, she's so cute." That's all she said. And I was so taken aback that someone in my upline noticed my post and they knew my kids. It's the little things like that that are the systems are like the bricks, the calls, the to-do list, they're bricks, but the cement between the bricks. I'm not a builder, the mortar, whatever it is. That is that what you would call it, the mortar? Yes, the mortar is the relationships. And that's all culture is creating a place where your table has a seat for everyone and making sure everyone has a seat at your table. And I'm going to go, my last little tip for there is if you have a table, so for a view of to me, if you're gold, you're a leader, really if you're silver, knowing what they're bringing to your table. So if I know Haley is a nurse and she's really great at the products, I'm going to ask her to go on the team page or in the chat and share about her favorite product and all the details. But if I know that Jen is not really great at the products. Sorry, that's me. That would be me. I'm not great at the products, but she is really great at customer service because her retention, she's like signed up 10 people and they're all still here. I'm going to go make sure hey, Jen, you're great at retention. Why don't you come give 3 tips on Tuesday? That way they feel a part of the team. Because a lot of people, it's easy to say, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Well, you got to kind of have a strategy of how you're going to build your culture and keep it going. And you're going to do it, and then it's going to multiply. And I actually had a team call or a little coaching call with one of my diamond legs today. And I'll be honest, it's one of those legs that were rocking and rolling. And if you look at their points in the back office, they look like they're flying. It's great. But I noticed something, and I was like, one of the jewels are kind of stalling. And I'll go to her and I realize she has all this, but she's not creating the culture. Does it make sense? Like she's giving a lot of to-do lists. She's giving a lot of strategy. She's saying post every day. But I'm like, hey, when was the last time you got on a call with so-and-so? When was the last time? Hey, why don't we get there? And I realized that's what she's missing. So I can come back to you next month and tell you what changes and if she changes her culture. But, I just think that's so important. So any questions about culture? I'm totally going like boom, boom, boom. And I might need to stop there. I realize it's been 30 minutes.
Honestly, that's like exactly what I wanted you to talk about because that is what Chandler and Haley J and I like when we talk about you, we're like, oh my gosh, she just creates culture and community and fun. And I feel like that's why your girls like love being around you. So I'm glad you talked about that.
Great.
Y'all ask any questions?
Well, I'll circle back to the very beginning because you said something about you joined Andrea because she was a woman of integrity and you saw like other people joining her. And I think like that's exactly what moments like this are for. Like, I'm curious, I can only see a few of you, but how many of y'all like have vision casted tonight because you know that Julia is a woman of integrity? And you're like, yeah, I think I want to continue. Yeah, I think I want to be Jewel. And I think the misconception is like, I don't have that integrity. Like Julia is super cool and she's diamond. I don't have that integrity, whether you just started or wherever you are in the ranks. But like when we accept that power and know that like I have the ability to influence somebody to do this business and to cast that vision, I think it's really big. So I'm just glad that you mentioned that piece. And I think that's the power of team calls. That's the power of going on trips. It's the power of walking up to Jules and saying, hey, like I've wanted to meet you. It's just being influenced in that way. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you for taking the time out of your own team call to come be with us tonight. We so appreciate it.
I also just want to talk about real quick how she said about overflowing your life onto social media. And I don't know about y'all, but that is what I've been trying to do. And it's so freeing. Like I can see Justine Palmer and she's like really standing out to me, but like she's a personal trainer not a personal trainer. She's not that. She's an athletic trainer out of school. And she literally is like the best ever. I used to work with her and she's so busy and has children. Her husband's a football coach. Like lean into that and post about that life. And like, I, for so long, was like, I'm an educational diagnostician. I can't talk about special ed kids on social media. I can't talk about my day. I can't, but you can in certain ways, like just speaking of your day and overflowing. And I think that's why I love your social media, Julia, because first of all, it's beautiful. They are at the beach all the time. And her little boy, Reese, is precious. And she like gave this cute little tip about painting seashells the other day. And she was like, $2 paint. And it was like so eye catching. I stopped, looked at it because it was just her. And I think like if you will just be you, it's easier to post. Like I don't want to post when I'm trying to post like other people. Does that make sense?
Right. Well, and you attract people that are going to come on your team and you're going to, I'm going to just say mesh well. You're going to create a natural culture because if I'm trying to be someone who's like, not in a messy closet and I'm very professional and, like I would probably attract very not that I don't attract type A people because, but like I probably wouldn't be a great leader for them. Let's just be real honest. So I like that if you're who you are, you're going to attract how it's like attract your vibe attracts your tribe. I know that's so like cringe, as my teenagers would say, but it's true, like your vibe attracts your tribe. So, why would you try to be somebody else? Like, I think you're going to end up with the wrong team. I don't know like how I say that because I don't feel like it can be wrong, but you know what I mean. So, well, all right. Anything
Okay,
else?
does anyone have any questions? Going once, going twice. Okay, Julia, do you care if we close out in prayer real quick?
Please do.